Hello everyone, this is RaceBase here with a consolidation of all the realism overhaul configurations that I've introduced on previous videos for mods that didn't have realism overhaul configurations. Now, for some of these, realism overhaul might have added configurations more recently, maybe far future now realism overhaul has configurations for, I'm not sure. So you have to be careful that you don't already have configurations for these in realism overhaul in its additional mods folder or whatever it's called. So basically we have the old Deku Energia rocket, and then there's another there was another adaptation of that mod. There's another Energia mod, and so that has additional parts, and that's what I've added here. So if you have that version, you might need this. The deep freeze patch just marks them as RO compatible, so that's not a huge deal. Far Future Tech changes the models so that they're larger, resizes them, does some stuff with the RCS, and so it's got a B9 part switcher deal, and it adds P.E.K.K.A.'s warp thrust module onto things, so be careful with that. Though that won't cause problems if you don't have P.E.K.K.A.'s warp thrust. It's just be careful if you already have something that adds the warp thrust to those parts. And there's an example of how to add warp thrust to various parts if you haven't done so already. So that's the Far Future Tech mod. There's the Fuji spacecraft mod. That's an old one. I've never actually used it, so, or at least I don't remember. But anyway, I made configurations for that. The HTV and also the Japanese rockets mod, that was by the same person. I've recently updated the Japanese rockets one. There's the Japanese launcher pack, actually. That's what it's called. It's still available on CurseForge. I'll have a video about it soon. And this should configure everything, hopefully. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff that needed to be done. Otherwise, it'll be all liquid fuel and oxidizer. Hullcam VDS is just protecting it. So it increases the max temp for the aerocam. There are a lot of other cameras I haven't done, so it's only 2 parts that have been actually RO configured this way. And I think they are already RO configured, probably. I'm not sure. But anyway, this marks them as more temperature tolerant so that we don't have them burning up. We don't want that when we have Starship reentry, for instance. And so ESA Quest's Blue Moon, you've seen me use that in various videos. The James Webb Space Telescope, I forget whose mod that was, but this has the full RO configurations for that, modified reaction wheel, the propellants and the little engines on it, all should be accurate. So, yeah. And then we have, okay, we did the Japanese rockets pack. Keem is the mod that imitates the beam expanding module on the ISS. So that's a patch for that. Though you might want to add a Textures Unlimited configuration for that. KK Launchers pack, that's an old SpaceX launcher pack. And it's old ITS. I mean, you might want to use that. I don't know. It'll probably be getting decent payload to orbit and everything. So here's KSP Interstellar and its various things. Among those, the engines are mostly just marked. Some of them have warp thrust if I felt that they needed it. But yeah, they're marked, and then I've made an indication that that part is from the KSP Interstellar mod. I should do that more often. And here's one. That's for the Z-Pinched Aerospike. This is the cheat edition of the Z-Pinched Fusion Aerospike. And I guess that's because the Z-Pinch Fusion Aerospike by default doesn't do so well. I'm not sure. I forget why I made that. Okay, Lackluster Labs. This is sort of important for futuristic ships because it has more blocky sort of parts. And in particular, in engines, I have the engines that I normally use for ion engines. The oxygen ion unit is okay. You can use that. That's more like an oxygen pulsed inductive thruster, but generally the one you've seen me use is the ion unit for Mars, and so that'll give you the performance. It's actually a little bit cheaty. It does have 10 times thrust as it is, so if you want to be completely accurate, this thrust should be 0.054. Okay, so Lackluster Labs, Lonesome Robots, that's an old mod with the MADV and Base Camp, Mars Base Camp. Planetary Base Inc. SP Rockets had the Electron rocket. I don't think I configured anything else. So I think I only configured the Electron rocket. That's one thing that you have to watch out for. Some of these, I might not have gotten to all the parts if they've added parts. So I only got to the parts where they had those parts at that time. So anyway, USI is a big one of that kind. I've tried to keep up with it, but yeah, there's the UKS and UKS new. So these are the newer Duna. I mean, I say newer, but they're still many years old now. And for these, I even have Kerbalism configurations. So that's fancy because I wanted to make them compatible with RP1 and RP2000 kind of things. So not all of these have Kerbalism configurations though. The HABs that I had introduced in my own future tech mod do have Kerbalism configurations, but they're a whole other thing that you have to add to stuff, and that's another complication on top of what Realism Overhaul already has. So some of these will have the resources for both Tag Life support and Kerbalism, so the food, water, and oxygen, and they'll have the right amount for that, but they won't have the converters for Kerbalism. So when we see the Kerbalism stuff here, and if you want to add Kerbalism to other things, you should just grab the stuff from the USI one. So you'll want the scrubber, humidity control, pressure control, and then the amount. And then this configures the options for the scrubber and humidity control and pressure control. So it tells what kind you have, basically. And yeah, so that's what's there. Hopefully those still work and Kerbalism hasn't changed too much. So those are the configurations I have for various mods right now. I'll try to make more. I do like making sure that parts are configured for Realism Overhaul so I can use them. I'm sure others like to have them configured for Realism Overhaul as well. But anyway, that is the repository. The link will be in the video description. With that, I'll say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.